Uryu is a sad boy who stopped believing in God after his mom died. However, when he's forced to live with 3 religious baddies, they will do whatever is needed to give him something to pray for. It all starts when Uryu goes to the Amagami shrine to start his new life, but when he walks into the house, he realizes no one is there. Then he hears girls arguing about dressing themselves. Uryu almost walks into the girls' room, but they suddenly come out wearing only their undergarments. Uryu gets a nose period, and the girls immediately try to exorcise him for committing blasphemy. Uryu realizes the girls are shrine maidens, and he quickly introduces himself, explaining that from now on he will be staying there. Yae is the oldest, and Asahi is the youngest, both asking Uryu to treat them like his own sisters, but Yuna, the devil-like middle child, doesn't want Uryu to get close to her, which secretly relieves him because he only wants to focus on studying. Then, Yae shows Uryu his room, but she accidentally knocks over some boxes. Uryu tries to save her, but when Yuna walks in, she finds Uryu under Yae in a position any man would love, earning Yuna's anger. After Uryu settles into his room, Asahi walks in and starts exploring his belongings, curious to know what kind of man he is. Uryu tries to stop her but slips on his underwear, falling into another awkward position, just as Yuna walks in and sees everything, earning him a second round of anger. Later that night, Uryu decides to clean himself up because he can't focus on studying, but then he notices someone still awake. To his surprise, it's Yuna, sitting alone and shivering from the cold. Trying to be kind, Uryu places a blanket over her, but Yuna wakes up and blushes, thinking he wants to get freaky. As they argue, Yae and Asahi walk into the room, finding them in another awkward situation. Uryu immediately apologizes, and Yuna explains she is making a charm for the worshippers. Uryu is surprised that she puts in so much effort even though she doesn't get paid. Then, Yuna and her sisters explain that they enjoy making people happy. Uryu sees them praying over the charms while holding red strings, and they tell him the strings are the last thing their mother left them. Moved, Uryu shares that he's been studying all night to get into a medical university. Yuna and her sisters tell him he's in the right place, because the shrine is known for a miracle called the Magical Star Shower, where people can make wishes that might come true. However, Uryu doesn't believe any of it, which makes Yuna furious, so she starts hitting him in frustration. The next day, Uryu watches the girls at work as shrine maidens and thinks about how he could never see himself as a priest. Then, Yuna encounters a foreign visitor and struggles to communicate. Uryu steps in, explaining in English what Yuna is trying to say, which makes the foreigner happy. While Uryu and Yuna bicker about his English skills, a strong gust of wind blows through, scattering everything. Yuna's red string flies away, and her sisters rush to help her find it. Yuna apologizes for not being careful, but when Uryu says that praying to God won't grant their wish, it sparks another argument. Uryu feels oddly relieved to argue with them, as he thinks it's better that way so that he can focus on his studies alone. But later that night, Asahi and Yae sneak into Uryu's room, hoping to ease the tension between him and Yuna. But Uryu isn't there, and instead they find a picture of him with his mother. Seeing it, Asahi and Yae realize Uryu has had a hard life since childhood. He grew up in an orphanage after losing his mother, and they believe he prays for her every day, but his wish never came true, explaining his disbelief in miracles. Still, Yae believes that Uryu and Yuna will eventually grow closer, since they share similar pain. Meanwhile, Uryu is outside, searching for the bird that took Yuna's red string. After struggling for a while, he decides to pray for Yuna's sake. Suddenly, he notices Yuna beside him, praying too. Surprised, Uryu apologizes for what he said earlier, and Yuna apologizes as well, and their reconciliation brings relief to Yae and Asahi, who secretly watch them. As they walk home together, a strong wind blows again. Uryu looks up to see cherry blossoms drifting through the air as the magical star shower begins to fall. He finally realizes that miracles might truly exist, and Yae teases him, saying it's already a miracle that he gets to sleep under the same roof as 3 hot baddies. Then, Yuna's missing red string falls gently onto her head, leaving them all stunned. The next day, the shrine's priest, Chidori, comes to tell Uryu and the girls that Uryu will become his grandson-in-law and succeed the shrine. This means Uryu has to marry one of the girls, which shocks everyone. Uryu quickly tells him that he's only there to live for free and focus on studying, not to become the next chief priest. Chidori replies that it's a shame he doesn't want the position because if he did, he could easily get into the medical university. Hearing that, Uryu immediately changes his mind and decides to focus on getting into the university. The girls are stunned that Chidori thought so deeply about it, and none of them wants to marry Uryu, especially since he doesn't believe in God. So they come up with a devious plan to make Uryu leave the shrine on his own. Yuna and the others tell him to cook, but when Uryu checks the kitchen, he sees they barely have any supplies. Still, he manages to prepare a delicious meal using only the bare minimum. Next, the girls take him to do laundry, which embarrasses them when they realize Uryu is handling their undergarments. But to their surprise, he manages the laundry like a professional. Then, he's tasked with cleaning Yae's messy room, and once again, he does it perfectly, leaving everyone speechless. However, Uryu overhears Yuna saying she wants him to leave because of the marriage issue. Yae and Asahi, on the other hand, want him to stay, mostly because he's useful with chores. Despite that, Uryu quietly packs his things and leaves. On the train, the girls spot him studying diligently, determined to become a doctor. They follow him to a spooky, rundown house, which terrifies them. Suddenly, Uryu appears behind them, carrying a group of children, and he freezes in surprise when he sees Mahiru. The girls soon learn that Mahiru is the housemother of Uryu's orphanage, especially after she playfully teases both Uryu and the girls. Uryu asks Mahiru why she never told him about the marriage arrangement, but Mahiru explains that she already made a deal with Chidori. Then Uryu is shocked to see his childhood friend Shirahi, whose tomboyish demeanor immediately startles Asahi. One of the orphan children proudly shows the girls a set of paper cranes he made, which reminds Uryu of the charms Yuna likes to create, and she tells him it's not a waste of time, and encourages the kids to make more because it brings happiness. Then, the girls try to help by folding paper cranes, but they struggle, forcing Uryu to show them how it's done. He folds a perfect crane with ease, leaving everyone amazed. Then, a little boy nervously asks if his paper crane will make his mother better, and Uryu gently tells him that it will, and that he should never give up. The girls watch in awe, and Mahiru reveals that Uryu once made thousands of paper cranes for his own mother, hoping she would get better, which explains why he wants to become a doctor. Shirahi and Mahiru agree that Uryu is a good person, and they tell the girls to take good care of him. Later that afternoon, Uryu complains to Mahiru that his study time keeps getting interrupted because the girls force him to do chores around the shrine. Mahiru laughs and reminds him that when he was little, she did all the chores in the orphanage by herself without ever complaining. Hearing that, Uryu smiles and says he won't complain anymore. He decides to return to the shrine because he's realized the girls truly care about him. When he gets back, the girls immediately start teasing him, saying he must have a crush on Mahiru. Embarrassed, Uryu apologizes for leaving and tells them they can always ask him for help with anything. The girls are touched and tell him they'll do the chores together with him because they're family now. The next day, Uryu sees how unreliable the girls are when it comes to chores, forcing him to take over most of the work himself. Just then, Chidori walks in and praises Uryu for doing such a great job with the girls. Then, with a serious tone, Chidori tells Uryu that if he truly wants to deepen his relationship with the girls for marriage, they'll have to go through a formal marriage interview. Chidori explains how the marriage interview works to Uryu, and Uryu assumes the girls must be against the idea, but he's shocked when Asahi appears completely ready for it. After Chidori leaves the two of them alone in a room, Asahi immediately suggests they do something together. Uryu panics, thinking she wants to do hot cardio when she starts to undress, but he's stunned when she reveals she just wants to go jogging with him. Then, Uryu and Asahi jog around town, and he tells her she seems like the happiest and most athletic of all the sisters. He doubts that a girl like her could outrun him, but hours later he's out of breath and completely defeated. Then he decides to take a bath, but accidentally walks in on Asahi, who is already bathing, which sends him into a flustered frenzy. The next morning, Uryu realizes he overslept and blames Asahi for ruining his study schedule, but suddenly he notices Asahi sleeping beside him. She wakes up and tells him they should continue their marriage interview, leaving Uryu startled until she clarifies that she just wants to go for another morning jog. They head to the old storage shed to find new running shoes, and Asahi starts teasing Uryu about being alone with the girl, but suddenly a strong gust of wind slams the door shut, trapping them inside. Uryu tries to open it but realizes it's locked from the outside. He then notices Asahi trembling and is terrified of the cramped space. Uryu calmly tells her to hold onto him from behind, which helps her relax. Then he starts working on breaking a window to get them out, and after hours of effort, Uryu manages to make an opening large enough to climb through. He hesitates because they're on the second floor, but pushes through his fear, climbs down, and opens the door for Asahi. She smiles in relief, and before he leaves, Uryu teasingly tells her she still has a childish side, which makes her blush. Yae and Yuna soon find Asahi and ask what happened. When Asahi happily tells them she had an unforgettable moment with Uryu, both sisters get angry, thinking that plot was progressed. Later that afternoon, Uryu faces his second marriage interview, this time with Yuna, but he's confused because Yuna acts polite and gentle, unlike the usual. As they walk around the shrine, he notices her scolding a cat to get out of their way, which makes him suspicious. When they end up alone in a room, Yuna suddenly pushes him to the floor. Uryu freezes when she declares that she's ready to have his child to protect the shrine's future. Uryu urges her to reconsider and she walks out flustered. Uryu then catches Yae and Asahi eavesdropping, and they tell him that Yuna has been acting strangely for days. He asks them what Yuna actually likes, and later tells Yuna to change clothes and come with him. Then, Uryu takes her to a cat cafe, and she refuses to go in at first, but once she steps inside, her entire mood changes. Surrounded by cats, she looks overjoyed. Afterward, Yuna remembers her mission to save the shrine, but Uryu gently reminds her that it's okay to have fun sometimes, especially since her sisters worry about her. They spend the rest of the day together at the cafe, laughing and playing with cats until noon. Before heading home, Yuna buys small presents for her sisters and one for Uryu, which makes him blush because he's happy to see her enjoying herself. The next day, Uryu prepares for his third marriage interview, this time with Yae, but she doesn't show up. Uryu goes to her room to check on her and accidentally catches her changing. Flustered, he leaves and waits for hours, but when he returns, she's gone. He asks Yuna and Asahi, but they don't know where she is either. Meanwhile, Yae is at the Inari shrine doing her hobby of sketching. She's startled when Uryu suddenly appears, explaining that he found her using his detective skills. Yae blushes, realizing Uryu really wanted to do the marriage interview with her. They spend the day together at the Inari shrine, enjoying each other's company until evening. Before they part, Yae gives Uryu a handmade charm as an apology for skipping the interview. Then she asks shyly which one of them he plans to marry, making him freeze. Suddenly, he slips down the stairs and hits his head, seeing a vivid vision of his future in college, being successful and carrying the family name Amagami. He wakes up soon after, disoriented and anxious, wondering if everything he just saw was only a dream. Later, Uryu learns from Yuna that they have an important guest coming. When Uryu buys cakes for the guest, he hears some people talking about the festival and how they haven't gone to the shrine for a while. Uryu goes back home, where a man tells them he is there to buy the shrine, which shocks everyone. Chidori introduces the man to the others as Miyamon, who is the financial supporter of the shrine, and is disappointed that after the girl's mother dies, the shrine stops receiving many visitors, meaning the sisters are trash at what they do. While Yae tries to hold Yuna's anger, Uryu suddenly makes an offer to Mimon. He tells him that if they can bring thousands of visitors to the festival, they will get to keep the shrine. Mimon laughs at Uryu's offer but accepts it anyway. Later, Uryu goes to research past festivals because he needs to gather information. The next day, he reveals the problem with the shrine's festival, and the girls realize their mother used to have many connections that brought visitors to the shrine, but after her death, they lost most of those ties. Uryu then tells them about his plan of using social media, and he wants the girls to attract attention to the shrine like they're selling feet pics. Yuna hesitates, but Asahi volunteers. She posts a cute picture of herself but gets only 1 like. Then she posts a shy picture of Yuna and gets 2 likes. Furious, she posts a picture of Yae but gets 0 likes. Asahi then gets the idea to post spicier, photos of them wearing their shrine maiden outfits, but Yuna hates the idea and tells her she has failed as a shrine maiden. The two argue, but Yae manages to calm them down, and at dinner, Uryu notices the silence in the room. Later, he goes to the bathroom and catches Yuna trying to take a selfie. Uryu shows her that Asahi is working hard to gain followers for the festival, which moves her. Then, Asahi receives a message from Yuna asking her opinion about her selfie. Asahi struggles to reply, but suddenly Yuna hugs Asahi from behind, and both apologize for their earlier fight. Yae also joins in for a hug, and the 3 of them embrace while still in their uniforms. Uryu snaps a picture of them hugging and posts it online, which goes viral. The girls are stunned by their sudden popularity and start posting more on social media to promote the festival. Uryu tells them they're not done yet because they need to sell limited edition items like a talisman at the festival, and he assigns Yae as the lead designer. Days pass, and Uryu still hasn't received the talisman designs from Yae, which makes him panic since the deadline is approaching. He goes to confront Yae but finds her room empty. Meanwhile, Yae is at the koi pond, trying to find inspiration for the talismans. She feeds a koi and is startled when it brushes against her lips, as it feels like a kiss. The moment sparks inspiration, and she rushes home to work. The next day, Uryu presents his own talisman design to the girls, but they all find it lame. Then, Yae shows her design, and everyone is amazed. The girls start to feel confident that their festival will succeed thanks to all their effort. But Uryu knows it still isn't enough, so he takes the girls to meet with the Shopping District Promotion Association, where everyone is surprised to see the Amagami girls in person. Uryu and the girls beg the shop vendors to help promote the festival, explaining that the shrine is in trouble. Uryu is stunned when the vendors agree without hesitation, and the vendors immediately begin strategizing for the big day, impressing the girls. As they watch the preparations take shape, they realize how much Uryu reminds them of their late mother. Then, on the festival day, the girls and Uryu are amazed by what they have built, but they remember their mission to gather thousands of visitors to save the shrine. For hours, only a few visitors arrive, which makes Uryu realize something is wrong. Suddenly, Asahi runs up to them and reveals there's a social media account spreading a message that the festival has been cancelled. Uryu immediately knows it's Mimon's doing, which makes Yuna disappointed because she believes their hard work will go to waste. Uryu tells her they're not finished yet because he has a plan, one that the girls find outrageous. Before leaving to hand out festival pamphlets, Uryu tells the girls to follow his plan. Suddenly, Chidori appears and tells them to have fun with God that day. Uryu struggles while distributing pamphlets since no one seems interested. But then, Mahiru appears with Shirahi, telling Uryu that they're there to help with the festival. Mahiru takes charge and begins gathering visitors herself. While spreading the pamphlets, Uryu smiles as he sees the girls on a moving stage, enthusiastically calling out to attract people to the festival. Mimon watches from his car, growing nervous that he might actually lose. Uryu feels confident they'll reach their goal of thousands of visitors, until it suddenly begins to rain. Uryu and the girls realize the rain won't stop, and disappointment sinks in. Uryu walks through the rain in silence, but the girls tell him not to lose faith and that God will help them. They kneel and pray together for the rain to stop so the festival can continue, while Uryu runs through the rain thinking he has failed to save the shrine. Then, suddenly, the downpour stops. Shocked, Uryu looks up, and the girls smile and remind him that God can make miracles. Uryu's eyes drift toward the pond, now filled with floating cherry blossoms. The girls step into the middle of the pond and begin a performance for the visitors watching in awe. They know they should thank both God and everyone who helped them, because together they've succeeded in saving the shrine. After the show, the girls are relieved to see crowds filling the grounds again, reminding them of the joyful days when their mother was still alive. Meanwhile, Uryu sells the limited edition items he and Yae made to the visitors, but Maharu approaches and scolds him for not selling them properly. Uryu apologizes, admitting he always causes her trouble, but Maharu insists on helping, saying she's always wanted to wear a shrine maiden uniform anyway. Then Mahiru asks if he's helping them out of pity, but Uryu tells her it's because he wants them to have what they deserve. Later that afternoon, Uryu realizes they still need one more person to keep the shrine, since it's part of their promise to Mimon. Suddenly, Mimon appears, reminding them that their time is up. The group's spirits sink until Mimon smiles and tells them they actually fulfilled their promise. As if they include him as a visitor, the deal is complete. Uryu and the girls are stunned, and Mimon admits he's impressed by what they've accomplished and wants to see the shrine continue thriving with even more visitors. After he leaves, Uryu and the girls celebrate joyfully after they've gathered thousands of people and saved the shrine. Yuna hugs Asahi tightly, thrilled by their success, while Yae jumps in excitement. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Yae thanks Uryu by planting a quick kiss on his cheek, leaving everyone surprised and flustered. Meanwhile, Maemon returns home and tells Chiharu he's genuinely excited about the future of the Amagami Shrine. Then, while studying as usual, Uryu suddenly remembers that Yae kissed him, which makes his blicky go stiffy, and he wonders if Yae actually has feelings for him. Suddenly, Asahi appears and teases him, saying he's overconfident, but she decides to help him uncover Yae's true feelings anyway. Asahi immediately goes to ask Yae what she thinks about Uryu, and Yae's vague response only makes Uryu more overconfident. Asahi sighs and says Yae might still be hiding her true feelings since she's the most mysterious of the sisters. Then, Asahi gets an idea and she drags Yae and Uryu out for a jog with her, but Yae quickly gets tired. Asahi tries asking her again, but this time, Yae snaps that she doesn't care about Uryu and just wants to rest. Later that night, Asahi and Yae take a bath together. Asahi asks Yae directly why she kissed Uryu, and Yae refuses to tell her anything, which worries Asahi. She immediately reports it to Uryu, who feels relieved, as he would rather not know Yae's true feelings anyway. When he tries to pat Asahi's head, she pulls away, pouting that she doesn't want to be treated like a child. Suddenly, Asahi nibbles Uryu's ear playfully before running away, leaving him blushing. The next day, Uryu can't stop thinking about Yae and Asahi, and as he walks down the corridor, he notices Yuna standing there suspiciously, hiding something behind her back. Uryu confronts her, but she stays silent. Then, Yae appears and teases him, saying Yuna's hiding something he wouldn't want to know about. Uryu shrugs it off and continues his day. That night, Uryu finally finishes studying, surprised that he's back to normal focus again. The house feels unusually quiet, so he steps outside and finds Asahi peeking into Yae and Yuna's room. Curious, Uryu joins her and learns that Yae and Yuna are making a present for Asahi's birthday. Around midnight, Yae and Yuna compare their gifts. Yae proudly shows the stuffed animals she made, while Yuna presents a talisman full of heartfelt wishes. Asahi and Uryu secretly watch them argue over whose gift is better, and Asahi smiles at their sibling bond. But during the argument, Yae and Yuna accidentally destroy each other's presents. When Asahi and Uryu step in, the sisters can only wish Asahi a happy birthday empty-handed. But Asahi doesn't mind, as she's happy they remembered and put effort into making something for her, and the three sisters hug tightly. The next morning, Yae and Yuna want to make it up to Asahi with something special. But Asahi tells them to look outside instead, and they're stunned to see the broken presents repaired by Uryu. And beside it is a small letter with a handwritten message wishing her a happy birthday from him, which makes her smile brightly. Meanwhile, Uryu, having fallen asleep afterward, dreams of Yuna kissing him on the lips. When he wakes up flustered, he rushes to the orphanage after receiving a text from Mahiru. While he's gone, Asahi and Yae try to ask him for a favor, only to find he's already left. Yuna scolds them for relying on Uryu too much, but they argue that they simply want to show him gratitude for everything he's done for them. At the orphanage, Mahiru gives Uryu a new uniform. He complains about how exhausting it is living with the Amagami sisters, but Mahiru notices how self-conscious he is and how he tries too hard for them. She gently reminds him that the girls are just showing their appreciation, so he shouldn't overthink it. When Uryu returns home, Yuna greets him warmly. He immediately notices something off with Yuna being unusually gentle. Suddenly, she offers him a massage and even kneels to tie his shoelaces. As she leans forward, Uryu's eyes dart nervously away, realizing mountains are right in front of him. Flustered, he quickly ties his own shoes, feeling a strong sense of déjà vu from his dream. He analyzes the situation and realizes his dream might come true and that Yuna might kiss him to express her gratitude. But when Yuna thanks him sincerely for everything he's done, no kiss happens. Uryu exhales in relief until a girl suddenly runs past and trips, bumping into Yuna, sending her nearly kissing Uryu. But he catches her face just in time, stopping their lips from touching. His face turns red as he quickly stands and bolts home, embarrassed and aware of what almost happened. Meanwhile, Yuna throws salt over herself to purify her spirit and mutters to herself, wondering if what she did was enough. Then, Uryu has a dream again, but this time he sees how they go to the Arashiyama shrine, and the girls all hug him. While having breakfast, Yuna tells them that she needs to consult with Yomiko regarding the shrine. Asahi reveals that Yomiko is the assistant priest of the Arashiyama Shrine, which surprises Uryu. He tells the girls that he doesn't want to come with them because he knows what the future holds and wants to create his own future. Uryu insists on studying that day, but Chidori forces him to deliver a package for the girls, so Uryu immediately runs to the Arashiyama Shrine to give the package to Yomiko. When Yomiko welcomes the girls, she tells the maid to serve them 4 cups of tea, despite only the girls coming. Suddenly, Uryu appears and shows them the package, a box sealed with warning signs. The girls are scared of what it is, but Yomiko calms them down because she can open it. When Yomiko opens it easily, Uryu is surprised that Chidori is just giving them a box full of mochi. While eating the mochi, Yomiko introduces herself to Uryu as the assistant priest of the shrine. Then, Yomiko starts explaining about the Arashiyama Shrine, and the sisters tell Yomiko about the problem they are having. But first, Yomiko teases them about how they have grown up, and then she reveals that she booked a hot spring resort for them to enjoy. Uryu doesn't want to come with them, because he knows what will happen if he does. Then, he sees the shrine maidens performing a ritual taught by Yomiko, which amazes him. Yuna tells Yomiko that they want the Amagami Shrine to be like the Arashiyama Shrine, and that they need Yomiko's help, but Yomiko dodges the question and hugs the sisters instead. Suddenly, Uryu confronts Yomiko about why she avoids Yuna's question. Yomiko believes that the sisters should find their dreams first and learn whether they truly want to become priestesses or not. Yuna immediately tells Yomiko that she is ready to serve God forever, but Yomiko reveals the truth that if they are truly ready, then they don't need her help, leaving the girls shocked. Uryu confronts Yomiko for being cold towards the sisters, but Yomiko calls him out for being a hypocrite who is still hesitant on who to marry, even though he knows the shrine's fate is in his hands. Then, Yomiko advises them to clear their minds, and gives her their answers in the morning. Then, Uryu and the sisters wait in silence, unsure who should speak first, but Yae decides to be alone. Then, Uryu is about to go home when suddenly, Yuna almost falls, but he catches her, which reminds him of his dream. Asahi says that Yuna is depressed, and Uryu wants Yae to take care of Yuna, but Yae isn't there. Then, Asahi decides to look for Yae, leaving Yuna with Uryu so he goes to buy drinks for Yuna, but she drops the it because she feels depressed. Yuna then tells Uryu that she has her own dream, but doesn't want to disappoint anyone. And hearing that, Uryu goes to buy her another drink, and sees Yomiko creeping behind Yuna, so he confronts her. Yomiko immediately runs away out of embarrassment, and when Uryu returns to Yuna, he realizes she is missing. Minutes later, Uryu finally finds Yuna standing near a river, and suddenly taking off her pants and walks into the river. Uryu grabs her, urging her to open her eyes and relax. Suddenly, Yuna notices that Uryu is accidentally holding her melons, which makes her furious. Yuna tells Uryu to stop helping them if he really wants to become a doctor, but Uryu tells her that everything he does for them is because he truly wants to, which makes her blush and burst into laughter. Then, Yuna realizes that Uryu is genuinely helping them and starts mocking him for being stupid. Afterward, Asahi is happy to see that Yuna has cheered up again, and then Uryu asks Asahi if she has found Yae yet. Yuna tells them that Yae has grown up and they shouldn't be overprotective of her. Then, Uryu goes back home and thinks about how the girls feel that he is still not close to them yet. Later that night, Yae looks up at the beautiful moon in the sky, which refreshes her. Suddenly, Uryu appears, surprising Yae because he manages to find her. Uryu tells her that he is worried about her sitting alone outside at night, which makes her blush. Then she confronts him about answering a question wrong, and Uryu is impressed that Yae can do mathematics, and she reveals that she is good at other things too, including martial arts. Then she suddenly tells Uryu that she could become a designer or a mathematician, but she wonders if she should marry someone and inherit the shrine. Uryu becomes embarrassed because she is asking him directly, and suddenly, a gust of wind makes Yae fall into the river. But Uryu manages to save her. He is soaked and sneezing all over the place, so they go to the hot spring inn, where Uryu uses the sisters' bath. Yae confronts Yuna, asking her if anything happens between her and Uryu, and Yae gets embarrassed, recalling the accident. After Yuna leaves, Asahi tells Yae that she has an idea to apologize to Uryu. Meanwhile, Uryu is relaxing in the hot spring when Yae walks in on him. Uryu thinks that Yae is going to bathe with him, but she only comes to give him shampoo and calls him a creep for thinking naughty thoughts. After bathing, Uryu sees Yae struggling to choose a drink, and it reminds her of a woman who told her about her future, which made her indecisive and childish. Uryu chooses a drink for her and tells her that he will be her guide if she ever feels lost. Yae decides to prank Uryu and tells him that she appreciates him, but will choose her own drink. Later that night, Asahi teases Uryu to sleep beside her, but Yuna stops her and tells Uryu to sleep somewhere else because she is scared that his pickle might go beast mode. Uryu decides to sleep in the drawer and asks them what they plan to tell Yumiko about their future, but no one answers. Uryu tells them that he's asking because he considers himself part of their family, which makes them blush. But Yae and Asahi then break the silence by starting a pillow fight. The next day, Uryu wakes up sleeping next to the sisters, but he notices that Asahi is missing. He goes outside and sees Asahi on her phone, so he confronts her. Asahi accidentally drops her phone, and when Uryu picks it up, he sees that she is being scouted for a relay race. Asahi reveals that she wants to become an athlete and that next year she will live alone in Tokyo. Uryu tells her that she needs to tell her sisters, but she admits she is worried. Suddenly, Yae and Yuna wake up and confront them. Asahi runs away, which makes Yuna furious, thinking Uryu did something to her. Uryu explains that Asahi is going to leave the shrine next year, but the sisters aren't surprised because they already suspected it. Yae and Yuna tell Uryu that ever since they were little, Asahi was always the one who learned everything by herself and wanted to become an adult quickly, so all they could do was support her. Meanwhile, Asahi runs away from her sisters, just like in the past, but this time she knows she has to change and become an adult. Suddenly, Uryu catches up to her, bringing Yae and Yuna along, and he tells Asahi that she should be honest with her family before it's too late. Yae and Yuna put a red string on her hair because they want to cheer her on her future. Asahi realizes that her sisters are supporting her, but she changes her mind and tells them she's not leaving for Tokyo because she wants to be with them forever. Suddenly, Asahi faints, and Uryu carries her. When she wakes up, Asahi hugs Uryu and tells him that he's like a big brother to her, which makes the sisters smile warmly. Later, Uryu wakes up at the shrine, surprised to see the sisters all grown up and asking him about the promised day. He asks them what it is about and is shocked when he learns that he is going to marry all of them. Suddenly, Uryu wakes up from his dream, but this time everything seems normal, and he wonders if it really was just a dream. Meanwhile, Yomiko and Harumi meet up to talk about Uryu and the sisters. Harumi thanks Yomiko for letting Uryu stay at the Amagami shrine, but it turns out to be part of a plan because Chidori needs someone to marry one of his granddaughters. Then, Yomiko begins to tell Harumi about her past and the time she met the sisters for the first time. Yomiko was talking to Chidori about the future of his shrine when the girls suddenly burst into the room and asked her to take them as her disciples. Yomiko takes the sisters to train with her at the Arashiyama shrine, where she goes overboard with their lessons because the sisters keep making mistakes. She soon learns that the sisters want to train under her because they wish to do it for their late mother. Eventually, the sisters grow better and more confident in what they do, until the time of the Great Separation. After years of training, they must part ways with Yomiko, and before they leave, they tell her that she is like their mother, which makes her blush. Back with Harumi, Yomiko explains that she received an order from Chidori to choose one of the sisters to marry the shrine's inheritor. However, Yomiko feels that none of them should marry just to inherit the shrine, because she wants them to follow their dreams. Still, she admits she isn't their mother or family, so she can't make that decision for them. Harumi tells her that family or not, she shouldn't worry because she could still become family to them in her own way. At the same time, Uryu tells the sisters something similar when they start worrying that they might not get to spend time with Yomiko again. Later that night, the sisters and Uryu meet Yomiko on a bridge because the sisters want to reveal their plans. Uryu has some doubts about what they will say, thinking they might still be too childish. Then, Yomiko asks the sisters which one of them would like to succeed the shrine, and to everyone's surprise, all of them choose themselves. The sisters immediately start arguing about who should inherit the shrine, while Yomiko simply smiles at their enthusiasm. Uryu steps in and tells Yomiko that the girls aren't ready to succeed the shrine yet, and asks her to keep looking after them for a while longer. Yomiko agrees, realizing that she was too hasty in trying to choose among them, and so she tells the girls that she will always be there for them whenever they are in trouble. Hearing that, the sisters are delighted that they can spend more time with Yomiko, like in the good old days. Then, Yomiko playfully asks if they are truly ready to succeed the shrine, which would mean they are ready to become Uryu's brides. Yomiko expects at least a decent answer from Uryu since Harumi promised her something. Feeling cornered, Uryu jokes by showing them more candidates for the shrine, trying to deflect the pressure. He then tells them that he won't give up on his dream of becoming a doctor to inherit the shrine, but he is willing to do it as part of their family, and the sisters smile. Suddenly, a rainbow light shines over the bridge, making the sisters slip and fall into Uryu's arms. Before they hit the ground, Asahi makes a wish that they should all marry Uryu for their own good, and the sisters immediately start arguing about which one of them should be his bride. Uryu realizes that Asahi's wish might actually come true because the moonlit rainbow of dreams has just appeared, leaving the sisters blushing and embarrassed. Seeing how close the sisters have become with Uryu, Yomiko feels relieved, knowing their future is in safe hands. She smiles to herself, eager to see what lies ahead for them. Without Uryu realizing it, all the dreams he has about the future are actually guidance, quietly given to him by Yomiko to lead him toward a better destiny. The next day, Uryu makes breakfast when the sisters pop up, surprising him because he sees them wearing their school uniforms. The sisters ask him which school he transferred to, and Uryu is curious as well, but Yuna knows he won't be going to the same school as her, or Asahi, since their school is an all-girls academy. While Uryu prepares himself, Yae tells Yuna that their school has recently changed to a co-ed school, and the next thing they know is that Uryu and Yuna are in the same class. Being the only boy in his class, all the girls crowd around him, which makes Yuna furious. She warns Uryu not to tell anyone that they live in the same house because it could get her in trouble. Uryu understands her feelings and already plans to study hard, since the school has a high academic level that could help him get into the university he wants. During lunch break, Yuna's friend Mitsuko introduces herself to him as the class representative. While Mitsuko talks with Uryu, Yuna quietly leaves them alone. Mitsuko explains that Yuna is popular at school for being a beauty and a shrine maiden. They continue chatting about Yuna until Uryu excuses himself to go to the bathroom. When he returns, he realizes his next class is gym class, but when he enters the classroom, Uryu freezes in shock as his classmates are changing right there like it's the start of a spicy movie where the guy ends up dry. Panicking, he immediately shuts the door, terrified his school life could end before it even begins. He waits a few minutes outside and Mitsuko and Yuna step out and find him waiting awkwardly. No one else notices what happened except Yuna, who mocks him for it. The next day, Uryu makes lunch for the sisters, amazing them and brightening their mood. When they mention that their late mother was the last person who ever made them lunch, Uryu promises that he'll make lunch for them from now on. At school, during lunch break, Yuna reveals her homemade bento to her friends, and Mitsuko immediately realizes that Yuna's lunch looks exactly like Uryu's. Both Yuna and Uryu panic, and so Uryu quickly starts eating his food to make it seem like they aren't connected. Mitsuko grows suspicious, convinced that something is going on between the two. Later that night, while washing the dishes, Uryu reflects on how close he came to being caught. Suddenly, Yuna approaches him to thank him for the lunch. She tells him she'd like her lunch arranged differently next time, and her sisters agree, each requesting something extra in theirs. The next day after school, Uryu walks home fuming about the fact that there are still no other male students. On his way, he spots the sisters walking home together, even though they attend different schools. Suddenly, Shirahi appears, and they talk about how much they've changed since the last time they met. Uryu becomes embarrassed while trying to figure out what's different about her, but Shirahi is just teasing him. Just as Shirahi is about to invite him to study together, they hear the sisters scream. Uryu rushes over and sees a group of guys taking pictures of them and trying to ask them out, which makes him furious. Seeing the sisters frightened, Uryu calls out their first names to get their attention and pulls them away from the crowd. Uryu and the sisters run from the group of guys, with Yuna scolding him for causing attention. But Yae and Asahi thank Uryu for saving them, which makes Yuna soften her tone. Then, the sisters notice that Uryu called them by their first names, which makes him embarrassed, but it also makes the girls blush and smile happily. Later that night, Uryu is forced to become Yae's bodyguard for her circle's drinking party because her sisters know Yae will get drunk. When Yae goes missing, Uryu finds her talking with some guys who are clearly trying to Eiffel Tower her. Uryu doesn't like it and tells them he is her boyfriend, which scares the boys away and flusters Yae. After that, Yae continues talking about Uryu as her boyfriend, and the girls listen in. Later, Yae introduces her best friend, Makoto, to him, but Makoto scolds him for being pathetic in protecting Yae, and Uryu quickly realizes he won't be friends with Makoto. While going home, Yae reveals she used to have many boyfriends, but they were only marriage candidates who gave her false hope because they never actually met her. Suddenly, Uryu tells Yae that he can be her fake boyfriend, just to protect her from creeps and ensure she's happy, but Yae leans in and says that she can't be happy with him now. When they get back home, Uryu sees a wallet on the floor and he remembers it belongs to Yae because when he and Yae went shopping, they helped a lost girl find her parents. While they waited, Uryu was the one who paid for the crepes Yae bought for the girl. Uryu wants to give the wallet back to Yae, but looks inside first to make sure. He's shocked when he sees that Yae's real name isn't Yae, but Reiko. Uryu goes into her room and sees she isn't there. Suddenly, he hears Yae bragging to her sisters in the other room. He goes to check and sees Yae showing off, convincing Yuna and Asahi to stay up late and come with her to Kyoto. At first, Yuna and Asahi refuse, but after Yae talks about how beautiful Kyoto is at night, they immediately change their minds. Yae calls Makoto to pick them up, and Uryu doubts she'll come. To his surprise, Makoto actually shows up, ready for a late-night stroll. Makoto doesn't want Uryu to come with them, but when Yae insists, Makoto agrees to let him come. Before they leave, Uryu returns Yae her wallet, and both of them say they have something they want to talk about, which makes Yuna and Asahi nervous, thinking he has already picked Yae to marry him. Then, the group goes to Yae's recommended spot, a place where they're supposed to see fireflies. But there aren't any fireflies that night, and Uryu notices they're all distracted. He takes the opportunity to talk to Yae about her real name, but Makoto interrupts him, and he realizes Makoto has a problem with him. After a while, Yae, Yuna, and Makoto leave to find fireflies, and Asahi and Uryu decide to get some fresh air. While sitting together, Asahi starts asking about Uryu's preferences in girls. Uryu is surprised but answers honestly, and Asahi worries that Uryu might have feelings for Yae because she secretly likes him herself. Then, Asahi suggests they move on and look for fireflies, but Uryu says he likes staying there, so they remain where they are. When Yae, Yuna, and Makoto return, Asahi has already fallen asleep on Uryu's shoulder, comfortable feeling his warmth. Later, Yae and Makoto take them to a convenience store, and while they're shopping, Uryu tries texting Yae about their earlier conversation, but Makoto turns off Yae's phone, which makes him suspicious. Then, Uryu notices Yuna doesn't buy anything, even though she's staring at ice cream, and he sees that she doesn't like troubling others with her desires. So, Uryu buys every ice cream variety and lies, saying he bought too much, luring Yuna to eat with him. See, when Yuna sees her favorite flavor, she eats it happily and enjoys it. While the sisters eat ice cream, Makoto hands Uryu a coffee, praising him for what he just did. Uryu then asks Makoto if she knows anything about Reiko, which immediately gets her attention. Makoto tells him to forget everything he knows about Reiko because she no longer exists in this world. While heading home, Uryu finally sees a message from Yae. In it, she tells him they can talk once they arrive at the shrine. Then, the group goes to the Inari shrine where the sisters are all happy because no one else is there except them. Uryu can't think straight because Makoto tells him not to ask Yae about Reiko, warning that it could ruin everything. Before going home, Yae proposes a little test of courage. The Inari shrine has 2 paths leading to the summit, and she wants them to split up and test their courage. Uryu immediately wants to pair up with Yae alone because the name Reiko keeps bothering him. This makes Makoto furious, and she decides not to participate in Yae's game. Yuna and Asahi are shocked when Uryu volunteers to go with Yae because they both think he's already dating her. Suddenly, Asahi insists on pairing up with Uryu instead, saying she feels lucky when she's near him. Yuna is surprised to see her sisters practically glued to Uryu, and she starts overthinking that they might end up doing hanky-panky if she leaves them alone, so she decides to join in as well. With a game of rock, paper, scissors, Uryu ends up going with Yuna, while Asahi pairs up with Yae, and Makoto follows them secretly from behind. Asahi feels embarrassed, realizing she just showed her sisters a bit of her true feelings for Uryu. Suddenly, Yae asks Asahi if she wants to know her own feelings for Uryu, because she knows Asahi likes him. Asahi panics and tries to deny it, but in her flustered state, she slips and falls off the fence. Meanwhile, Uryu and Yuna walk together toward the summit. Yuna admits she's never really acknowledged him, even though he always tries to get closer to them because she thinks of him as a weirdo. Suddenly, a stray cat jumps out, startling Yuna. Out of fear, she clings tightly to Uryu. While holding on to him, she explains why she came to the Inari shrine at night. Yuna always wanted to visit the place because it's said to be close to God, and she misses her mother. Uryu doesn't laugh at her or tease her. He listens quietly, understanding her feelings because he's been through unnatural experiences himself since living at the Amagami shrine. He believes God might really be watching him. Suddenly, his phone rings and they learn that Yae has fallen off the fence. Uryu and Yuna immediately rush to Asahi, and when they arrive, they see Asahi being treated by Makoto. Asahi explains through tears that Yae saved her from falling, but accidentally fell off the fence herself. While Asahi cries, Makoto wants to go into the forest to find Yae, but Uryu insists on going instead. He notices that Makoto is just as worried as he is, maybe even more, but he still decides to enter the forest alone to search for Yae. Uryu steps into the darkness of the forest, frustration building inside him. Suddenly, he spots a mask in the shadows and thinks it's Yae, but then it vanishes. Furious, he closes his eyes, and in an instant, he sees the girl he once saved from being lost. The scene around him shifts, and he's back in the past, and somehow he's a little kid again. Confused but remembering his purpose, he begins walking until he finds a girl sitting alone on a park bench. The girl is performing a strange ritual, snapping her fingers rhythmically, which fascinates him. Uryu learns that her name is Reiko. She's alone and hungry, so he takes her to a nearby shop to buy her some snacks. As they eat, he realizes that Reiko knows almost nothing about the outside world. Sitting by the riverbank, Reiko asks Uryu to feed her the snack he bought, but he tells her to eat it herself. She tries it and is amazed by the taste, her eyes lighting up with curiosity about the outside world. Uryu begins telling her stories, sharing what he knows, and as he talks, he can't help but be reminded of Yae. Later that night, Uryu tells Reiko they should go to the police to find her parents, but Reiko says it's unnecessary as her escort has already arrived. Relieved, Uryu gets ready to leave, but then he sees the escort treating Reiko harshly, reminding her that her life has already been decided by her mother. Reiko looks at Uryu, silently begging for help. Seeing her desperation, Uryu suddenly remembers Yae. Without hesitation, he grabs Reiko's hand and pulls her away, running together into the night. In that moment, he realizes the truth that he's the one who changed Reiko's life, turning her into the person now known as Yae. Uryu runs away with Reiko, and the escorts search for them closely. Suddenly, Uryu panics when he realizes that Mahiru might be worried about her, which makes Reiko laugh. Uryu realizes that Reiko's family is strict with her because she rarely laughs, and that thought makes him decide to take her to his favorite spot. He takes her to a place where they can see the city lights shining from below, and Reiko is amazed. Uryu tells her that it is a place where she can do anything she wants, like screaming as loud as she can. Reiko screams her heart out, shouting that she wishes her mother would drop dead and that she wants to be free. Hearing that, Uryu realizes that Yae has always wanted freedom too because of her past life. When Reiko finishes screaming, Uryu tells her that she has to go home, but Reiko doesn't want to. To comfort her, Uryu promises that he will find her in the future and make her free, which makes her smile. Back in the forest, Uryu eventually finds Yae and remembers the meaning of Reiko's name. He notices that Yae's plots are exposed, so he hurriedly tries to fix them, but Yae wakes up, making him panic. Uryu tells the others that he found Yae and that they should meet at the entrance, which makes everyone relieved. When Uryu and Yae are finally alone, he decides to tell her about Reiko. Uryu tells her that he saw her real name wasn't Yae, and he is shocked to realize that the girl he once saved is her. Then, Uryu tells her that seeing that lonely girl grow into someone full of freedom makes him happy, and Yae blushes. She remembers how her own mother banished her from the family because she sought freedom, and because of that, she was given to the Amagami shrine, where she learned to live freely with her sisters. Before the others arrive, Yae holds Uryu's hand and thanks him for being the reason she could be free. When the sisters appear and immediately hug Yae, Uryu tells Makoto that he now knows what happened to Reiko. Makoto is furious that he didn't listen to her warning, but she is also relieved that he was the one who saved her. The group eventually goes home. Uryu, Yuna, and Asahi notice that Yae immediately goes to her room. Yae blushes and feels happy about Uryu because he finally understands the truth. She hugs her pillow and acts as if it were Uryu, realizing that she's starting to have feelings for him. Summer arrives and Uryu notices that it's getting hot in his room while he studies. Suddenly, he's surprised to see Yae also in his room, reading quietly. Yae tells him that she has a college assignment to sketch a person, and that she wants to draw him. In exchange, she gives him a fan so he can cool down. While Uryu studies and Yae sketches, he starts to realize that Yae might be in love with him, seeing that she's been unusually clingy these past few days. He tries not to overthink it, but Yae, focused on her sketch, draws his side profile and writes how much she loves him beside it. Suddenly, Yuna and Asahi walk into the room and sense the intimate atmosphere. They don't like that Yae is alone with Uryu, but Yae tells them to be quiet because he's studying. Yuna tells Asahi to leave, but she's surprised when Asahi decides to stay too. Eventually, both sisters end up staying in Uryu's room, and Yuna realizes that her sisters might have feelings for Uryu. Then she and Asahi notice that Yae's drawing includes a love note for him, so they ask if she really has feelings for him. Yae admits that she loves Uryu and plans to confess after his exams. She also declares that she will be the one to marry him and inherit the shrine, shocking her sisters. While the girls are talking, Uryu notices their suspicious behavior and tries to confront them. But before he can get any answers, they all dash out of the room, not wanting him to find out what they've been discussing. Then, while Asahi is in her class, her teacher tells the students to write down their wishes on the talismans Asahi made for the festival. Asahi watches as her classmates each write their own wishes, and then Karen appears. Karen wonders what Asahi's wish is, but Asahi humbly says that her wish is for all of her friends' wishes to come true. Karen laughs and tells Asahi that she should wish to win the marathon since she herself is competing in it. Asahi's friends then wonder what Karen's wish might be, since she's a girl from a wealthy family who already has everything. Karen proudly shows them that her wish is for victory in the marathon. Asahi also shows that she wishes to win the marathon because she has a family cheering for her. The two start arguing, and Asahi teases Karen for always getting second place. After school, Asahi sees her sisters and Uryu preparing for the Tanabata festival. Uryu asks Yae what her wish is, but she refuses to tell him, secretly wishing to bond with her soulmate, which makes Yuna react in disgust. Then Asahi appears, bringing all of her talismans with her. Yuna and Yae tell her that they're coming to watch her marathon, and when Asahi hears that Uryu is coming too, she feels embarrassed but excited that he'll be watching her race. The next day, Asahi learns that the marathon is postponed and will now overlap with the Tanabata festival, which makes her worried. Karen mocks her, saying she'll lose anyway, but Asahi doesn't care. She goes home and tells her sisters and Uryu about the postponement. Her sisters feel sorry because they won't be able to watch her race, but Asahi insists that all that matters to her is victory. After going out for a training run, Uryu tells the sisters that he has it covered. The day before the marathon, Asahi says goodbye to her sisters and gets teased by Yae for being alone with Uryu. Asahi leaves them, feeling a little anxious as she realizes she'll be apart from her sisters for a while. On race day, Asahi takes an early lead, managing to stay near the top for a while before exhaustion starts to catch up to her. She notices Karen's family cheering loudly for Karen, and it makes her lose a bit of confidence. Then she spots Uryu and Yomiko in the crowd, both cheering for her. Energized, Asahi pushes herself harder as Uryu runs alongside her, reminding her that everyone back home is cheering too. Later on the train ride home, Asahi falls asleep, clutching her victorious gold medal from the marathon. Uryu feels relieved that Asahi won the race, and the festival went perfectly. But the next morning, Uryu wakes up and realizes something strange. He sees that he's traveled back in time, to before the festival and the race. He tests his sisters to be sure and discovers that Asahi has also returned in time with him. Asahi grows worried about the marathon again, but Uryu reassures her that they can relive it easily since the race was no challenge for her before. Uryu and Asahi relive both the festival and the marathon together, but when they wake up the next day, time resets again. Uryu starts to suspect that the problem lies with Asahi. He tells her that she needs to do everything differently until the festival and the race, but instead, she keeps making new wishes. Over the next few days, Uryu watches Asahi practicing how to type and doing different exercises, saying it's part of her new wishes. Uryu then asks if she wants to come to the festival instead, knowing that she's been looking forward to it. Asahi hesitates because of the race, but Uryu reminds her that there will always be more marathons she can run. Finally, Asahi changes her mind and decides to attend the festival with her sisters, smiling as she realizes that sometimes being together with them is worth more than winning. Meanwhile, Asahi's sisters are confused about why she doesn't participate in the marathon and instead joins them at the festival. Asahi tells them that the Amagami Shrine needs all of its sisters together, which makes them smile. Meanwhile, Karen continues to train hard because she wants to defeat Asahi. Ever since they were little, Asahi has always loved running and participating in races whenever she could. One day, Asahi beats Karen, which makes Karen furious and sparks their long-standing rivalry. Later, Asahi tells her coach that she can't join the marathon, and the coach is fine with it. Karen, who is eavesdropping, immediately asks the coach something afterward. This marks the third time Uryu and Asahi experience the marathon, but this time, Asahi decides to take part in the festival instead, believing that the problem lies with her. Later, Asahi comes up with a game for her sisters during the festival. She suggests they test who among them is the most popular. Yuna doesn't like the idea at first, but when she hears that the winner's face will be featured on the festival poster, she eagerly joins in. The sisters hand out papers for visitors to write their wishes, and they are shocked when Yuna turns out to be the most popular one. Yuna struggles to handle her sudden crowd of fans, and then Yai encounters a fan who confesses his love for her. Yai tells him that her heart already belongs to someone else, but her sisters quickly silence her before she says more. Yuna and Yai are happy that Asahi chose to stay and help them with the festival, since she rarely spends time playing or doing things with them. And Yai begins to notice that Asahi is becoming warmer and more open. Suddenly, Shirahi appears, surprising everyone. She's impressed by how lively the festival is and reveals her wish to be admitted to a medical university. The sisters are surprised that Shirahi wants to follow the same path as Uryu, and then she turns to ask Uryu about his own wish. Uryu admits that he didn't write one, which reminds Shirahi of their childhood. Back then, Uryu never liked writing wishes to the gods, believing everything in life was within his own control. The sisters laugh when they hear how nonchalant he used to be, which irritates him. After they pray for Shirahi's wish, they move on to announce the winner of their popularity game. To their surprise, all three sisters receive the same number of votes until Uryu steps forward and reveals that he made a wish too. Asahi quickly grabs his wish slip and reads it, discovering that he voted for her. That means she wins the game. After seeing Uryu's wish, Asahi goes for a walk and unexpectedly finds Karen, who also didn't participate in the race. Karen tells her that she skipped it because she was busy with something else. Asahi doesn't pry and instead asks if Karen has a wish, but Karen says her wish can't be granted. After Karen leaves, Asahi notices she dropped her wish paper. She picks it up and is shocked to see that Karen's wish is for a fair race with her. Then, the festival turns out wonderfully, just as Asahi hoped, but despite everything, Uryu and Asahi still end up returning to their time loop. Uryu panics and starts searching the internet for answers, while Asahi seems to enjoy the repetition. But when he lifts the blindfold covering her eyes, he realizes she's crying. Seeing her tears, Uryu promises that he'll be there for her and find a way to end this. Suddenly, Yai walks in and gets jealous upon seeing them together. Noticing the tension, Uryu tells Asahi that she should participate in both the race and the festival, but Asahi already understands the true problem. Uryu calls Yomiko to help cheer for Asahi during the race, then asks her how Asahi can take part in both events. Yomiko points out that the time loops have all been caused by Uryu's decisions, not Asahi's. Meanwhile, Asahi falls ill from overworking herself for both the festival and the race. She reflects on how she became so uncertain and always torn between staying with her family and chasing her dreams. Suddenly, someone knocks on her door, and when she opens it, she screams. Uryu rushes into her room and is stunned to find Asahi and Karen in a fun position together. Minutes before that, Asahi is surprised when Karen comes by to check up on her, but she insists she's fine and starts teasing Karen for being worried. Suddenly, Karen pushes Asahi to the ground and begins undressing her, demanding that they race right now. Asahi screams and Uryu rushes in to check on them. Karen drags both Asahi and Uryu to a jogging park, where she explains the race rules with Uryu acting as the timekeeper. Before the race begins, Karen tells Asahi that if she wins, Asahi must stop running altogether. As the race starts, Karen calls out to Asahi, saying she's noticed how Asahi hasn't been serious in her recent races, and that frustrates her. Karen admits that Asahi is talented, but tells her she looks even better when she's at the festival, which moves Asahi deeply. Since Karen has lost to Asahi many times, she's made it her mission to train every day to finally defeat her and end their rivalry. Hours later, Uryu is astonished when Karen crosses the finish line first, beating Asahi and even setting a new personal record. Karen reminds Asahi that she promised to retire from racing, but Asahi protests, saying it isn't fair because she's been busy with festival duties. She admits that she's unsure about what her real passion is, but after hearing Karen tell her to stop running, Asahi suddenly realizes the truth that she loves both running and being a shrine maiden. With renewed determination, she decides to keep running and settle things for real on Marathon Day. She tells Uryu that he doesn't need to come support her this time, as she's going to bring victory home on her own. Uryu can't argue, knowing it's her decision, and Asahi thanks him for everything he's done for her. When Marathon Day arrives, Asahi gives it her all and wins fair and square, earning a gold medal and setting a new personal best. After the race, Uryu and Asahi wake up and realize they've finally broken free from the time loop, filling them both with joy. Asahi mocks Uryu playfully, but Yuna soon bursts in, telling them to get ready for the second festival. Confused, Asahi listens as Chidori explains that Yomiko suggested holding another festival based on the old calendar. A month passes, and the second Tanabata festival begins. Asahi comes up with a fun new idea, and Uryu and Yai are amazed that the festival's success is all thanks to her. Yuna and Yai approach Asahi and tell her she's changed, making her curious. Yai smiles and says Asahi has become cuter and happier, as if she's finally let go of something heavy. Blushing, Asahi tells them how glad she is to have them as her sisters. Later that afternoon, Yomiko appears, and Asahi thanks her for the suggestion. But Yomiko accidentally lets slip that it wasn't her idea, but it was Uryu's. She reveals that Uryu has been asking around to get everyone's approval for the second festival, which moves Asahi deeply. Yomiko warns her not to tell him, but just then, Uryu shows up. Asahi quickly leaves, wiping away tears, while Uryu thanks Yomiko for her advice, though she has no idea what he's talking about. Uryu presses her for answers, asking if she knows how many times they've relived the festival, but Yomiko refuses to spoil anything. She leaves him alone and goes to pray at the shrine, where she talks with a masked girl, realizing the mysterious visitor seems to enjoy teasing them. That night, Uryu and the sisters attend the fireworks show. A few guys try to riz them, and Asahi finds herself jealous of her sisters, so she wanders off alone and accidentally bumps into a stranger, startling her. Just then, Uryu appears and gently takes her hand, guiding her back since she's lost. Asahi blushes as he holds her hand, and together they arrive at the perfect spot to view the fireworks. Uryu apologizes, realizing that the reason they were able to break the loop was because of her strength, not his. But Asahi teases him for being overconfident and reminds him that they finished everything together. As the fireworks explode in the sky, Asahi suddenly realizes that Uryu will always see her as a sister, and that he'll never marry her. Refusing to accept defeat in her race against her sisters, she boldly pulls him close and kisses him on the lips. When her sisters appear moments later, Uryu freezes completely, unable to move or say a word. Later, while walking to his seminar class, Uryu can't stop thinking about Asahi kissing him. He shakes his head and reminds himself to focus on his goal is to become a doctor. When he arrives at his seminar to check his mock exam grade, he's shocked to see a big B on the paper. Suddenly, Shirahi appears and starts teasing him for getting a B. Uryu grows furious when he learns she got an A, and he immediately vows to prove her wrong, even though he's busy living with the sisters. Back at home, the sisters want to talk to Uryu, but when they enter his room, he's gone. All that remains is a piece of paper. The sisters recall that Uryu has a meeting with Mahiru, and then they spot his graded exam lying on the desk. Meanwhile, Uryu, Mahiru, and the orphans visit the communal shrine. As Mahiru lights a match, she starts teasing Uryu, saying she can tell the sisters are beginning to like him. She reminds him about the shrine inheritance, but he brushes it off, as his dream is still to become a doctor. While daydreaming about his future as a doctor, Uryu notices one of the orphans praying incorrectly. He walks over and gently teaches the boy how to do it properly. Harumi, watching from nearby, smiles and tells him he's changed. Uryu shakes his head and says he hasn't changed at all, as he still wants to be a doctor, because he can't stand seeing children pray at their parents' graves. Harumi understands his feelings and tells him she believes he could become a great priest one day. Before Uryu leaves, he notices a bush rustling but decides to ignore it. When he arrives home, he finds Chidori and the sisters performing a ceremony. They explain that they're praying for the people they've lost, which reminds them to pray for Uryu's mother. Uryu insists it isn't necessary, as he doesn't believe the dead are there to hear them. But after the sisters finish praying, Uryu suddenly sees a vision of his mother waving goodbye. A gust of wind passes through, and the sisters stare in shock as Uryu starts to cry for the first time. As they try to comfort him, Chidori tells him they have something to reveal. She and the sisters explain that none of them are actually siblings, and their mother adopted them all. The sisters get frustrated when Uryu doesn't seem surprised, but he admits he already knew from Yai's past. They try to tell him how great their mother was, but Uryu already knows, as he's seen how close they all are because of her. Smiling, he tells them they should keep bonding and growing together, which makes them blush. The next day, while doing laundry, Uryu gets unexpected help from Asahi. He tries to talk to her, but she avoids conversation, still embarrassed about the kiss. Later, when Uryu goes to clean Yai's room, he's shocked to find it already spotless, though it turns out she just shoved everything into a drawer. Before he leaves, Yai thanks him for always cleaning her room, which makes him smile. That night, Uryu smells something delicious from the kitchen. He's surprised to find Yuna cooking curry, and when he tastes it, he's stunned by how good it is. As he goes to bed, he realizes the sisters are changing because of him, and he's changing because of them too. The next morning, Uryu and the sisters gather for breakfast, enjoying Yuna's curry. They start talking about how dependable he's been, which makes him blush. Then, to his surprise, they all bow and thank him for everything he's done, because it's time to say goodbye. As on the day when Uryu and Mahiru visit the graves, the sisters secretly hide in the bushes and overhear him say that he won't inherit the shrine. They realize it was never his dream to do so, and they decide to support him in chasing his real goal instead. Uryu is stunned when the sisters tell him he's being evicted, but they insist it's for his own good, and they want to prove they can live without him. When Uryu finishes packing and prepares to leave, the sisters tell him they'll find a new heir and thank him for his time. Shocked, he walks away, but as he walks, he remembers praying for his mother every day as a child. Suddenly, he turns back toward the shrine, and standing before the sisters again, he announces that he's found their next heir in the form of a boy who once prayed to God to heal his mother's illness, and when she passed, stopped believing. That boy, he says, watched 3 shrine maidens pray every day, and through them, rediscovered his faith. That boy is Uryu himself. The sisters grow suspicious, wondering if he's lying, and decide to interview him. After he proves his sincerity, they smile and accept his words. In that moment, Uryu finally realizes his true calling to inherit the shrine and someday marry one of the sisters. Days later, Uryu has a fever, and Yuna is the one who treats him. She makes him porridge and is surprised when he says he likes it. When Uryu goes to check his temperature, the digital thermometer dies. Yuna decides to check the old-fashioned way by leaning close and pressing her forehead against his to sense his temperature. Uryu panics when he realizes how close she is and notices she isn't even blushing. Suddenly, he wakes up in bed and realizes it was all a dream. As he wonders about it, Yuna stands outside his room, red-faced because it really did happen. She knows she has to take care of Uryu as the shrine's heir, but she also realizes she has gotten too close to him. The next day, Uryu feels better and notices Yuna wearing a weird hairstyle. Yae tells him that Yuna has been acting strangely as if she's hiding something. In the middle of their conversation, Yae accidentally kisses Uryu on the cheek, making him blush and helping him figure out how to approach Yuna. When Uryu and Yae check on Yuna again, they're surprised to see she's wearing yet another strange hairstyle. Yae suspects Yuna might be in love, but Uryu insists a girl like her couldn't be. While Uryu wonders about Yuna's odd behavior, Yuna suddenly trips and falls, causing a scene. Her sisters and Uryu rush over to check on her, and Yuna insists she's fine, but Yae notices that she's burning up with a fever. Yae tells her to rest and let them handle the chores, but Yuna refuses, saying that she has to help Uryu because he's the heir. While cleaning up the mess, Uryu tells Yuna that if she works hard, he'll have to work even harder because she's the reason he devotes himself to the shrine. Hearing this, Yuna's heart flutters, and she rushes into his arms so he can carry her back to her room. Later that night, Yuna insists she's recovered, though the others doubt her. She smiles and declares she'll start a new daily routine of praying to God every day so she won't get sick again. The next morning, Uryu accidentally walks in Asahi showering, and when he doesn't get nosebleeds like other anime MCs, Asahi feels sad that he changed. Later, during class, Uryu and Yuna learn that the school will be performing The Changelings, a stage play about a prince and princess who cross-dress. Mitsuko immediately picks Uryu as the prince as he's the only boy in the school, and he accepts. Yuna, furious that he'll have to cross-dress, volunteers to play the princess herself. At lunch, Mitsuko admits she was going to pick Yuna as the princess anyway, because she thought Yuna was dating Uryu. Both Yuna and Uryu freeze in shock now hearing that the school is already full of rumors about them clapping. That night, Asahi and Yae gush excitedly about seeing Yuna and Uryu perform together. Uryu blushes as he practices his lines, already dressed as his character. After Yuna finishes her shower, Uryu calls her, and they start talking about the bizarre thing that's just happened that they've switched bodies. When Yuna was sick, she prayed at the shrine and somehow switched places with Uryu. Now Yuna is in Uryu's body, and Uryu is in hers. He rushes to the bathroom and sees her reflection in the mirror, completely stunned. When he runs back to his room, he finds Yuna calmly sitting there in his body. Yuna doesn't panic, already knowing about this strange phenomenon, but hasn't told him. The two decide to help each other learn how to live as one another, like Yuna awkwardly learns how to use her elephant trunk in the bathroom, while Uryu struggles to take off her dress without tearing it. After a few days of living like this, both of them are exhausted and frustrated, just like Freaky Friday. Uryu finally suggests they tell the others, worried the stress might get to them both, and Yuna agrees, but before they can, Asahi bursts in and tells them to stop flirting. Yuna follows Asahi, while Uryu goes with Yae. Both girls wonder if Yuna and Uryu have feelings for each other, but they both deny it. Then, Yae and Asahi confess that they each have feelings for Uryu, and stunned by their confessions, Uryu and Yuna decide not to reveal their situation to anyone for now. Determined to fix things, Uryu resolves to find a way to reverse the body swap before their lives spiral further out of control. Meanwhile, Mitsuko starts noticing that Yuna has been acting strangely, though she has no idea that it's actually Uryu inside her body. Then, Uryu and Yuna go to practice their dialogue in front of Mitsuko, and she finds them to be a great couple because of how naturally they act while cross-dressing. Then, their classmates remind them that there is going to be an exam, which makes Uryu worry about his English test. After school, Uryu sees Yuna studying hard because she doesn't want to ruin his grades. Uryu is surprised by her generosity, but tells her to take it easy because he doesn't care about it anyway. At dinner, the sisters notice that Yuna is studying twice as hard. Then Yae tells Uryu that she has to dance at the shrine in a couple of days, which makes him realize that he has to train in dancing. Uryu immediately looks for dance training videos and starts practicing his dancing skills, which confuses Yae and Asahi because Yuna has already mastered her dancing. Uryu realizes that Yuna is trying hard for him, so he decides to try hard for her because he doesn't want to ruin her reputation. He also begins to understand what Yuna is going through, and the thought energizes him. The next day, Uryu feels stiff because he trained all night. Then he accidentally tells Mitsuko that the shrine found an heir, which makes Mitsuko realize Yuna isn't really Yuna. Uryu panics and wonders if Yuna is hiding something from him. Suddenly, he sees a girl wearing a mask pulling him away. Uryu wakes up and realizes he is back in his own body, and he wonders if the girl wearing the mask is the one controlling them. He also wonders why Yuna brought him to a stall, and then he notices a key that can open one of the doors. Meanwhile, Yuna is also back in her own body and immediately sees Mitsuko praying for her. Mitsuko tells Yuna about the air, which makes Yuna smile and say that it's just a joke. Then, Uryu and Yuna go home, relieved that they are back to normal, but when Uryu gives Yuna the key, she panics and quickly tells him that she just found it. Uryu tells her that he wants to know more about her because she's family, and then they notice the others staring at them out of jealousy. Yuna tells Uryu that he doesn't have anything to worry about, which makes him overthink. When Uryu lies in bed that night, he wonders if they could switch bodies again because he wants to know more about Yuna's secret side. The next day, he realizes they've switched bodies again, and he immediately tells Yuna about the girl wearing a fox mask. Yuna tells him that he met God, which makes her envious, but Uryu doesn't believe her, and then God suddenly switches their bodies again, while Uryu is trying to fix Yuna's dress. After school, Uryu is furious because God decides to switch their bodies once more. Then he notices Yuna holding a science book, which makes him wonder and realize that Yuna has other desires she hasn't shared. Suddenly, Mitsuko surprises him and tells Uryu that she knows Yuna isn't really her. Uryu is cornered, so he tells Mitsuko that he lost her memories, which seems reasonable enough to her, though she knows something deeper is going on. She decides to let Yuna be for now. Later, Mitsuko and Uryu go on a date, but Uryu is still in Yuna's body. Mitsuko brings him to Yuna's secret hideout and reveals that she and Yuna were barely friends until Yuna's mother died. Mitsuko recalls how Yuna was heartbroken after losing her mother, so she brought her a serving of her famous dumplings. Since then, Yuna and Mitsuko have become best friends, and their secret hideout has become a place where they share their secrets and dreams. Mitsuko gives Uryu Yuna's wish list, and he wants to read it because he knows it would reveal Yuna's hidden side. But in the end, he decides not to, and instead reveals to Mitsuko that he is actually Uryu inside Yuna's body. Mitsuko isn't surprised, as she already knows, which gives Uryu the creeps. Uryu then yells at God that he's had enough of its games, and God switches their bodies back again. Without their knowing, Yuna is actually there, listening to their entire conversation. Later, Mitsuko goes to give her famous dumplings to Uryu and Yuna, because they are about to have a serious talk. Mitsuko also learns that Uryu is the shrine's heir, which explains why they are so close. Then, Uryu asks Yuna to tell him about her true desires, the ones she has been hiding. When Yuna is little, she notices that the shrine has fewer visitors. Her mother explains that Chidori is getting older, and if Yuna wants more visitors, she has to become a priest. Since then, Yuna has always wanted to become a priest because she is worried that God will be lonely if the Amagami shrine ever closes. Back with Uryu, Yuna grows embarrassed after revealing her dreams, while Uryu is impressed that she has such big ambitions. But Yuna explains that it is difficult for her to become a priest since shrines are dominated by men. Seeing Uryu dedicate himself to inheriting the shrine, she decides to give up on her dream and wants to burn her wish list, which explains why she was holding a science book to search for new dreams. Uryu starts rage-baiting Yuna because he knows she is lying about giving up on her dreams. He tells her that when he becomes a priest, he will fire the Amagami family because he thinks it will be hard to run the shrine with them around. Yuna becomes furious and reveals everything she dreams of for the Amagami shrine. Hearing Yuna's passionate words, Uryu realizes that she is hiding in her safe place, and he tells her that the only one who can bring her out of there is he. Yuna disagrees and wants to prove why she will become a priest, and Uryu accepts her challenge because he wants her to reach her dreams. Days later, the festival begins, and Uryu is surprised to see that it is dominated by men. Mitsuko explains that every year at the festival, men come because they are trying to hit on the sisters, which makes Uryu worry about them. Suddenly, he sees Yae getting harassed, but Yae manages to make them leave, which surprises him. Seeing that Uryu is left alone, Yae decides to stay with him and holds his hand so they look like a couple, and no one will disturb them. Uryu and Yae take a few photos together and then go inside a labyrinth. But from afar, Yuna sees them, and jealousy rises in her chest. After Uryu and Yae finish the labyrinth, Uryu gets a call from Mahiru, who tells him that Asahi is missing. Uryu immediately goes to look for her, leaving Yae with Mahiru. Meanwhile, Asahi wanders alone, lost because her phone has died. She starts talking to herself about how all her efforts for Uryu seem like a waste of time, but she isn't giving up yet. Then she spots a girl confessing her feelings for Uryu through a speaker. On impulse, Asahi takes the speaker and calls out to Uryu herself. Uryu immediately runs to the roof, worried that Asahi might be hurt, but when he finds her, she just wants to have a festival date with him. Yuna overhears what Asahi says and remembers their earlier talk about Uryu. Feeling conflicted, Yuna hurries to the makeup room, trying to clear her mind of thoughts about him. Eventually, Uryu and Yuna get into character for their play, and their classmates start teasing them to kiss at the end. Before the performance starts, Shirahi comes by to watch Uryu crossdress, and Yuna suddenly asks him what he feels about her sisters. But Uryu doesn't have time to answer because the play is about to begin. The Changelings play starts, and Uryu and Yuna deliver their dialogue as if they are living the story themselves, with the plot mirroring their strange connection in real life. When Uryu delivers his final line, it moves both Yuna and Shirahi to tears. After the play ends, Uryu notices Yuna blushing before she suddenly runs away from him. Alone on the rooftop, Yuna tries to purify herself, but Mitsuko stops her. Yuna confesses to Mitsuko that she feels strange whenever she is with Uryu, and Mitsuko smiles gently and tells her the truth that she is in love. Later, while Shirahi cooks at her home, Uryu texts her to study together at his house, which makes her smile. While studying, Shirahi notices that Uryu can't focus because he keeps thinking about the sisters possibly having feelings for him. Shirahi confronts him since he's acting strangely, and then Asahi suddenly walks in with drinks. Asahi almost falls, but Uryu catches her just in time, keeping the drinks from spilling. Shirahi grows jealous and excuses herself to the restroom. Yae brings her there and starts asking Shirahi for pictures of Uryu when he was little. Yae tells her that she's interested in them, which makes Shirahi realize that Yae and Asahi truly do love Uryu. Before going back into Uryu's room, Shirahi hesitates, feeling insecure as she remembers when she used to be the only girl for him. When she enters, she sees all the sisters in Uryu's room, where Yuna and Uryu are arguing about who should serve Shirahi's snacks. Suddenly, Uryu checks Yuna's forehead to see if she has a fever, which makes Yae and Asahi jealous while Yuna blushes. After studying, Shirahi asks Uryu to come to her house for dinner. Uryu agrees at first, but when he hears that the sisters are having trouble without him, he decides to stay, breaking Shirahi's heart. When Shirahi gets home, she immediately cries, devastated because she had been looking forward to dinner with Uryu. She regrets ever meeting him because she feels that the Uryu she once knew is gone, though deep down she still wants to see that version of him again. Suddenly, one of her friends texts her, saying she has started dating the man of her dreams thanks to a charm. The next day, Uryu and the sisters have breakfast together and talk about the Kurugami charm, which, according to rumors, can grant anyone's wish, especially if they want to date someone. Hearing the conversation, Yae decides to take everyone to visit the Kurugami charm because she has something planned. On the way there, Uryu grows frustrated because they have to hike first to reach the shrine. Still, he joins them because he's curious about God, and he asks the sisters about their wishes. Yuna says she wants to become a priest and hopes Mitsuko will open a dumpling shop near the shrine so she and Uryu can enjoy it together. Asahi wishes to win the marathon over Karen and have Uryu as her lover. Yae's wish is to go on a vacation with Uryu, see him dance, and finally have him propose to her. Uryu watches the sisters giggle over their own wishes, which creeps him out a little. The group finally arrives at the Kurugami shrine, only to find it abandoned. Yuna and the others get startled by a crow. Suddenly, Uryu tells them that he saw someone inside the shrine, which frightens them, but they assume it must be Kurugami itself. The sisters ask Uryu about his wish, but he stays firm in his belief that the only ones who can grant their wishes are themselves. The sisters ignore his skepticism, still hoping the charm will somehow tie their fates to Uryu. Without their knowing, the person Uryu saw inside the shrine is actually Shirahi, hiding from them for some reason. After the group leaves, Shirahi stays behind, begging the Kurugami god to grant her wish. Suddenly, Uryu senses a dark shadow fly over him, and then he collapses. When he wakes up, he realizes he's back at his orphanage. Uryu assumes the sisters brought him there after he fainted, but then he's shocked to see Shirahi in the bathroom. Shirahi teasingly tells him to bump her belly in the shower, which makes him nervous and run away. Uryu rushes back to the Amagami shrine, only to find that the sisters have kicked him out. He tries to prove who he is, but none of them recognize him. When he returns to the orphanage, Shirahi greets him warmly, though she notices he looks devastated. Uryu can't believe the sisters no longer know who he is. Suddenly, Shirahi steps closer and kisses him on the cheek. Uryu is stunned, but Shirahi smiles and reveals that they are a couple. Then Uryu has a dream where the sisters don't acknowledge him, no matter how much he tries to make a fool of himself. Then he finally realizes it isn't a dream, but it has been 3 days since his life at the shrine disappeared. When Uryu wakes up, Shirahi and Harumi tell him to rest as long as he wants at the orphanage because he's been acting strangely. Hearing their words, Uryu realizes he's trapped in a phenomenon where he and Shirahi never leave the orphanage. In this phenomenon, Uryu and Shirahi attend the same school. He's even recommended by the school to join the medical university, and he has guy friends. Uryu knows he has everything he ever wanted, yet something about Shirahi still bothers him. At lunch, he realizes that he's dating her, and while he doesn't mind, he's trying to find a way to return to his real world. After school, Uryu asks Shirahi if she knows about the sisters, but she doesn't. Uryu tells her that he wants to go back to the world where he was chosen by the shrine and where they aren't dating. His words make Shirahi furious as she mistakes them for him wanting to break up. Then, Mahiru reminds him of how the two first met when they were children. Uryu used to be a cool, kind boy who helped others, which is why Shirahi fell for him. While Shirahi studies in the hallway, Uryu comes to apologize and study with her, which makes her happy because she finally gets what she's always wanted. Later that night, Uryu can't sleep, not because he's troubled, but because he has nothing to worry about. Yet the sisters keep coming to his mind. The next day, after giving Shirahi her shampoo hat, Uryu decides to take a walk alone. While walking, he overhears a child bragging about dinner, which makes him wonder if the sisters have eaten. Suddenly, he bumps into Asahi, who is out jogging. Uryu, overwhelmed with concern, startles her with his intensity and she runs away, creeped out. But as she runs, Asahi realizes that Uryu seems more like a nice guy than a weird stalker. Suddenly, she hears Uryu chasing after her, and she flees back to the shrine, where Yae tackles him to the ground. Yuna wants to call the police, but the sisters stop when they see Uryu trying to return Asahi's red string. Asahi thanks him for being kind, and Uryu tells them all to stop because he has something to say. He tries to remind them that he's their family member, the one who does the laundry, cooks lunch, and helps clean the shrine. But Yuna refuses to believe him and insists he's a stranger, forcing him to leave. Uryu prepares to move on with his new life, but just as he starts walking away, Yae suddenly stops him. She tells him to wait, as she remembers that Uryu is the boy who once saved her in the past. Meanwhile, back at the orphanage, Harumi and Shirahi worry because it's raining. Shirahi decides to go look for him, knowing she might have an idea where he is. Uryu explains everything about his alternate world to the sisters, also revealing that he knows details about their past, something that creeps Yuna out. Determined to prove himself, Uryu shows that he's not just talking, and he can do everything he claims. After he demonstrates his skills, the sisters still refuse to let him help at the shrine, but they agree to help him return to his real world because he's earned their respect. While the sisters discuss how to send him back, Uryu looks at them and tells them that he loves them. Then, he decides to head home. But when he opens the shrine's door, he freezes as Shirahi is standing there, waiting for him. Then, while Shirahi uses the sisters' bathroom, the sisters corner Uryu and force him to elaborate, since his girlfriend has told them he's acting crazy. Uryu explains that in his alternate world, he never dated Shirahi, but now that he is, he doesn't want to break her heart just to solve his problem. After Shirahi finishes her bath, the sisters show them the room where they'll be sleeping. Uryu feels happy to have his old room back, but he's torn about what to do. The sisters suggest he break up with Shirahi, while Harumi advises him to support her instead. Suddenly, Shirahi knocks and asks to come into his room, which is perfect timing since Uryu wants to talk to her. When she walks in, he's shocked because Shirahi starts teasing him with multiple freaky things she can do with her tongue. Uryu quickly tries to stop her, reminding her that they're in a shrine, but she laughs it off and says she just wants to study with him. The sisters eavesdrop, thinking the couple might do something spicy, but when they realize Uryu and Shirahi are just calmly studying, they decide to leave them alone. While studying, Uryu finds it hard to focus because he's overthinking everything. Shirahi notices and encourages him, reminding him that he wants to become a doctor who saves people so children won't have to worry about their parents. Inspired by his dream, Shirahi says she also wants to become a doctor so they can build a hospital together someday. Then, she shyly tells Uryu that she wants to do what couples do with him, which makes him panic, thinking she means a honeymoon, but she actually just wants to go to an amusement park. The next morning, Shirahi wakes up and sees that Uryu hasn't slept at all. He admits he stayed awake because he heard her apologizing in her sleep. Uryu asks her if she changed the world, and the question forces her to tell the truth. Shirahi confesses that she made a wish to Kurugami so she could be with him because she realized the Uryu she once knew had changed. Every time she saw him, he seemed more distant, always surrounded by the sisters, and she never found the courage to confess her feelings. Uryu apologizes, admitting that he never realized she had feelings for him, which brings her to tears. He gently tells her that he's glad she finally confessed, but admits he doesn't know what to do now. He offers her his chest to cry on, and she accepts. The sisters see Shirahi crying because of Uryu, but he tells them firmly to stay out of it. Later, Uryu thanks the sisters for letting them stay, and before heading home, he wants to pray at the shrine with Shirahi. At the shrine, they see a little boy praying for his brother, which makes Uryu chuckle. Shirahi feels shy about praying beside him, but Uryu tells her that he used to pray at the shrine every day for his mother. After praying, he tells Shirahi that he still dreams of becoming a doctor, but now, he also dreams of saving lives with God's help, because the shrine and the sisters helped him believe in divine presence. Then, they notice the sisters struggling with some tasks. Uryu wants to help, but Yuna refuses his offer. Seeing that, Shirahi steps forward and volunteers to help as a part-time shrine maiden. The sisters are amazed by how good she looks in their uniform. Working alongside them, Shirahi begins to understand why Uryu changed. Watching her bond with the sisters, Uryu feels at peace, like he could actually live in this world. Later that afternoon, Shirahi apologizes to the sisters and Uryu for her selfish wish. The sisters hug her, telling her they understand. Shirahi then promises Uryu that she'll find a way to send him back to his real world, even if she doesn't yet know how, and the sisters vow to help her. Uryu reminds them that the autumn festival is coming, so they should make as many memories as they can before he leaves. On the day of the festival, Shirahi is amazed by how lively and crowded it is, but as she watches Uryu interact so warmly with the sisters, she starts to worry. While walking together through the forest, she asks Uryu about his feelings for the sisters. She begs him to tell her, but he struggles to put his emotions into words. Suddenly, the shrine dance begins, and Shirahi sees Uryu blushing as he watches the sisters perform. In that moment, she realizes the truth that Uryu belongs with them, not her. After the festival, Uryu and Shirahi get ready to head home, but before they can leave, the sisters introduce them to Yomiko. She learns that Uryu and Shirahi come from an alternate world, and she isn't surprised because she already knows that God is capable of such things. Before revealing her knowledge, she offers Shirahi a position as a shrine maiden, saying her beauty could attract more visitors. Yomiko then tells the sisters that what Uryu and Shirahi are experiencing has happened before to them, a divine phenomenon they call tying the knot. Yomiko explains that tying the knot is a manifestation of God's will, a connection between the current world and another. Then, Yomiko explains how they can return home, which is by praying to the god who brought them into this alternate world, Kurugami. After wishing them luck, Uryu asks Yomiko how his memories could remain intact if he's truly on a different Earth. He worries that Yomiko might know more than she lets on, just like when he was looping before. Suddenly, Yomiko's demeanor changes. She tells Uryu that he is too early to learn the truth, her tone dark and cryptic, which terrifies the sisters. When Yomiko leaves the shrine, Uryu still doesn't understand her explanation fully, but he knows one thing, and that is he must go to the Kurugami shrine. Meanwhile, God speaks to Yomiko saying she went overboard, but Yomiko doesn't care, as it's all part of her plan for something much greater. The next day, Uryu and the girls head toward the Kurugami shrine. During the hike, Uryu brags about his endurance while the sisters make silly, unnatural wishes. When they finally reach the shrine, the sisters decide to leave Uryu and Shirahi alone, knowing they'll meet again in another world. Suddenly, Uryu and Shirahi see Kurugami sitting above them, its presence immense and divine. Shirahi immediately kneels and prays to be sent home. Kurugami asks if she truly wishes to return, and she nods without hesitation. But just as Kurugami begins to grant her wish, Uryu stops it, terrified that Shirahi might not come back safely. Kurugami explains that it knows them well from their hearts, their wishes, and every wish requires payment. Then, with a snap of its fingers, the world shifts around them. They stand at a crossroad where two paths stretch before them, one leading back to their original world, the other keeping them in the current one. Uryu hesitates, remembering Yomiko's warning to prepare before leaving. Shirahi begins to speak, her emotions spilling over. She confesses her feelings to Uryu, begging to hear his in return. Uryu tells her how intelligent, beautiful, and kind she is, but Shirahi shakes her head, saying she doesn't want compliments, only truth. Finally, Uryu admits that he doesn't want to leave the sisters. He wants to stay by their side, to make them happy with his own hands, and he's never felt this sense of belonging before. Then he declares his decision to return to his original world and tie the knot with the sisters. Shirahi listens quietly, tears welling in her eyes. She understands his feelings and accepts the price she must pay for her wish. Together, they walk toward the crossroad that leads Uryu back home. The journey feels endless until a glowing wormhole opens before them. Uryu says his final goodbye, promising he'll never forget her. Shirahi reaches out for him, but she's too late as he's gone. Uryu wakes up in his room, gasping. He rushes to find the sisters, but their room is empty. Desperate, he opens the bathroom door and finds the sisters changing. His eyes widen, tears streaming down his face as his nose bleeds at the same time. That day, Uryu prepares a barbecue for everyone, showing how dependable and caring he's become. The sisters watch him proudly, smiling at the sight. Suddenly, Miyamon appears, teasing Uryu and admitting he's jealous of how close he is to the sisters. His confidence shatters, though, when Yomiko, Harumi, and Shirahi arrive. When Uryu tries to talk to Shirahi, the sisters interrupt, telling him to focus on cooking more meat. Laughter fills the shrine grounds. Uryu and Chidori glance around, realizing how lively everything feels with him there. As the evening sun sets, Uryu enjoys the barbecue surrounded by the sisters and his family. Up in the trees above, God sits quietly, watching them from afar, smiling as they laugh and eat together under the fading light. Comment down below, 3 hot maidens if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.